The Crow, starring Brandon Lee, whose father, of course, was the legendary Bruce Lee, who died mysteriously, and his son, Brandon Lee, also died mysteriously on this film. This is supposed to be his breakout film. Just tragic. I still think it's a little bit shady. I won't go too deep into it because it's more about the movie, but I don't know how you accidentally shoot real bullets instead of shooting blanks. I feel like there's a murderer in Hollywood that got away with it because somebody put in real bullets. That shit didn't just
No, that's
happen
not
by
what happened.
accident. Oh,
What happened is like they were cheap.
what?
They were cheap on the
Yeah.
set. Instead of paying $20 for a box of ammo of blanks, they were like, well, let's just take real bullets and like take the powder out and take the bullet part out of it. And
Oh
then
my
what
God.
happened is like one of them forgot to take out like one of the like some of the packing, and they shot it once, and it ended up jamming in the barrel. And then the day that they were filming that scene, the weapon specialist was home, and the prop master, they gave it to the prop master's assistant, who didn't know they were supposed to check the gun and on the barrels and all that shit, put in the blanks because they were doing a close-up scene where you see like the muzzle flash. And because of that, they didn't know that there was a piece of thing like stuck in the barrel. They put in like the blank that didn't have the bullet, but it had like the powder. So it, for all intents and purposes, it was basically a bullet, but they didn't know it was there. And then boom, shot him in the stomach. They're like, because he was supposed to get shot, crumple. He did that. Amazing take. Jordan was like, that's it. We got it. Cut.
And yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my
And
God.
get up. Yeah.
Oh shit.
I-
And then
Yeah.
and then
oh. Well,
they're
thank you
cheap.
for giving.
They were
It wasn't
cheap.
murder. It was just cheap.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving the background. I love how Leonard comes with the facts and reasonableness, and I just say crazy shit. It really works. It really
You're
works.
like, it's murder. It was murder. It's a conspiracy. I was like, no, it's just incompetence. And
Yeah.
As, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I still feel like somebody was just ingenious. They have clearly convinced the world that it was just that they were being cheap. I think some bitch didn't want an Asian superstar other than
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves. It could have been Keanu. Keanu,
And
I don't
nobody
know.
shot
He
Jackie
just wanted.
Chan. Nobody like.
Do you think he would have been a superstar? I saw the acting in that movie. Like,
Yeah, he would have been a superstar.
Yeah.
He would have been like. He
What?
would have been. I think he would have been like a sort of like a slightly better, or maybe even like Mark Dacascos. You know.
Yeah, he,
What?
you know,
I don't think he would have been a superstar.
no,
I
I
we'll
think
never
He
know.
was my
We'll never know.
superstar. He was my. He had already been in a couple like moderately successful movies, and this was his star vehicle, and it did
it
make it
wasn't-
number one. You know.
Yeah.
But was
I
it
mean,
about
this
his
movie
acting?
was better than any movie. It was better than any movie that his father made. So that's nice.
Oh,
Well, it is. There wasn't any name a Bruce Lee movie that's better than this movie.
Ouch.
Like from artistically speaking.
that was the 70s. This was 1994.
So
I don't know what-
there weren't good movies in the 70s.
Wow,
They
Bruce
filmed
Lee's
in the 70s,
legacy.
like The Godfather was in the 70s. Star Wars in the 70s.
This is okay, yeah, that's true. But I just feel like Bruce Lee is such a legend. It almost feels sacrilegious to speak
Well,
that
he is a legend, but I'm
I
talking about his
know.
son, who also counts as part of his legacy. So it's
Well,
not like
it
he
is,
doesn't take credit.
yeah.
He gets credit for this. If it wasn't for
But
him. There
he was
wasn't
a
for
great
Bruce. There's no
actor.
Brandon. There's no one for Brandon. There's no the Crow and
Oh.
No,
I
all
feel
the
like
shit.
I
I
feel
didn't
like I'm
even
so
see the
biased
movie.
that any movie starring an Asian like Bruce Lee, I'm just gonna be like 2 Asian thumbs up. I'm like, his whole catalog is great. The Crow
Did I ever
is
tell-
great.
Did I ever tell you like the story like when like I was hanging out with my dad like a few years ago, and he was just like, "Hey, did I ever tell you about the time I fought Bruce Lee?" And I was like, "What? What? Why am I only hearing about this in my late 30s? Like, what the what?" And then he was like, "Yeah, I fought Bruce Lee." And then my mom chimed in because I was like, "Yeah, my dad doesn't know any martial arts." And my mom was like, "Yeah, just Bruce Lee just slapped the shit out of you, man. Like, you didn't fight him. Like, it wasn't a fight." What are you talking about? So yeah, no, my parents, like my dad's family and Bruce Lee's family were like all friends and stuff. Like my Bruce Lee's mom was like my aunt's godmother, and so they were just hanging out all the time. Like my dad held Brandon in his arms when he was a baby. Yeah, that's my little brush with almost royalty. My dad showed me all these like old photos. I can show you sometime. There's all these old photos of Bruce Lee, like back in the day.
Wow,
6
that's pretty
degrees of
cool.
Bruce Lee. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
well,
cool.
I learned Wing Chun from a guy who was right under Ip Man, who was in the same class as Bruce Lee.
Oh, wow.
Ah, wow,
That's
Ip Man, the
crazy.
guy that's like what a 5-part movie series. Ip Man.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so back to the movie. Sorry that I took us off track with my unfounded conspiracy theories. You know what I feel like with Jennifer gone, I need to take on the mantle of like just really
Crazy.
passionate takes. So maybe I'm like channeling both myself and Jennifer with my level of conspiracy theories this week. But just a bit of a rundown so people know this movie, and also so the YouTube algorithm can pick up my words and rate us properly. The Crow, starring Brandon Lee, 1994, directed by Alex Proyas. Starring Brandon Lee, Ernie Hudson, Michael Wincott, and Bai Ling. I need to give a shout out to another Asian actor in this movie. Lead character is Eric Draven. You know, he's the guy who becomes a crow and dies. This little girl, Sarah, Sergeant Albrecht, and the dead woman who starts all this by dying and getting raped is Shelly Webster. And then the gangsters have like these crazy names like T-Bird and Tintin, Funboy, and
Yeah.
Skank. Skank. Wow, that's quite the name. And I do have to say, this is based on a comic book by James O. Barr. And okay, you know, I'll give my take first. I thought it was like a simple premise, but it was effective. Listen, somebody dies horrifically, they come back to life. It's very easily explainable. It's like the classic revenge action movie genre, but with like a supernatural twist, which I think adds a little bit to it, but then also takes away because he was just so overpowered the whole time that he just you just didn't feel any, you know, like nobody's gonna stop him. So it just made it a little bit less exciting than most revenge action thrillers, because like revenge kill porn is like usually you're like, okay, we know Bruce Willis is not gonna die, but there's a chance. But this one is like, no, this bitch is just gonna like, you know, kill the other people. I will say what I liked was the cinematography. I think it's aged really well. It is of that era, but it aged well. It like sparked this whole grunge craziness. There's like this wrestler Sting that basically ripped the whole thing off. Of course, a white guy ripping off an Asian again, and he like kept this like crow like persona for like effing decades. I hope he's paying some residuals to the Bruce Lee family, or I know that's not how Hollywood works, but anyway, you know. I think the movie left a mark. It clearly left a mark on me. I'm really sad that Brandon Lee wasn't able to make more movies. I thought he was really cool. I actually liked his other movies too. This was like, I can't even tell you, like there were two deaths that really affected me when I was young. There was Aaliyah, who I loved, and there was Brandon Lee, and both of whom I had loved, and just really thought they're gonna break through. I know there's like dissenting opinions here. I like really thought this was the movie that's gonna vault him into like the A-list, and for him to die shooting this movie, it was just like so tragic. But I'm glad at least we have his very short filmography to look up to. And this movie is iconic, and there's been a lot of horrible sequels, some of which starring this little Sarah girl when she like grows up. But don't watch those; those are terrible. The other thing too is I think the structure, they used like a lot of flashbacks, which was good because then we got to like start in the action right away. Usually I'm not a big fan of flashbacks. But like, let's be real. This movie wasn't about the story. It was about an excuse to like shoot people while looking cool, and it accomplished that. Let's head on over to Veronica for what did you think? Had you seen this movie before?
Oh, I saw it when it first came out. I saw it with my boyfriend at the time who was into martial arts. Actually, all my boyfriends were into martial arts. I guess it's my type. And not that they're good. Anyways, so I saw it back then. I meant at martial arts, by the way, not at the other thing. In case anyone sees this. So I saw it in 1994, and I saw it a few times after that. And honestly, I could never watch that movie. It was the same now. I can't watch it without being distracted, without all that other stuff that's related to Brandon Lee and this movie, the curse of the movie, because it had other accidents too. besides just Brandon Lee's accidental death. And then there's the whole Bruce Lee legacy, and then there's Brandon Lee's actual death. It's so distracting, and also he's hot.
Mm-hmm. Even through the
Very
makeup, girl.
hot. That's why I was like, when I really look at his acting, I'm like, that guy can't act, but I will watch him. So I tried to watch again, and it's like it's the typical tortured protagonist, and I was like, okay, cool. They've done it well, being sexy and romanticizing it, but I don't know, it was okay. But I did, those flashbacks though, they reminded me of something, and I was like, why does it feel like I'm watching like an 80s music video? So I look up the director, what's his name, Alex Proyas. And apparently, up until The Crow, that's all he did was just music videos and commercials. And I could feel that throughout the whole movie. Although stylistic, I agree with you. I thought it was cool. But again, it was something else that distracted me. Basically, you know what? If you're going to see this movie, just be honest. You're going to see it because you're into hot, dead legends and their legendary fathers. That's why you're going to see it. You're not interested in The Crow. I'm just going to guess.
Okay, hot take from Veronica.
Yeah.
The Crow is for people who like dead hot people.
Yeah.
Um, which includes me, I guess. So let's head on over to Leonard. What is your take on The Crow? A cult classic hit, The Crow.
Yeah, like Veronica, I watched this when it first came out. I was a teenage boy, and I enjoyed it as a teenage boy because that's pretty much who this movie is for. And now, a couple decades later, as a 40-year-old man, this movie's fine, I guess. It's not for me. It's not like I watched it again last night just because I was like, let's refresh, right? Let's try to recall what this is. And I was just like, it's okay. It's violent. It's dark. It's moody. It's like the kind of movie. It's like if Batman was a goth, that's what this movie is, basically, right? It's not. The plot is like super simple. It's like style over substance for sure. But you know what? Like for an action movie, like super simple plots are fine. Like John Wick, super simple plot, love it. It's perfect. It's the perfect action movie where it's like, oh, they killed my dog. I will now kill everybody. That's it. That's the whole movie. Great. And then this one, it's like, they raped my fiance, and I will kill everybody. Oh, they also killed me too. I didn't like that either. So I'm gonna kill everybody. That's it. That's the movie, right? And so, shot really well. Like Vong said, it's just an excuse to like do some cool visuals and like some cool martial arts and stuff. And like they had like a lot of rapid cuts. So you know what I will say, like it was very much. It did manage to capture the comic book aesthetic.
Yes.
So that was a nice thing that they managed to accomplish. But like, from like a screenwriting perspective, from a writing perspective, it was I mean, it's like whatever, man. Like you have a protagonist clearly wants revenge. It's a revenge story, and then he gets it and he dies. That's it. That's the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he dies again.
And Ernie Hudson quit smoking. Yay! That's nice. And then Ling gets her eyes pecked out. That's nice.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Don't mess with crows.
But they will say this. My favorite part of the movie, and I didn't remember this because when I was a teenager, I didn't clock this. Their cat looks exactly like my cat.
Oh.
The white cat.
Yes, that's right.
Tuna, man. It's like exactly the same.
Wow.
I showed my wife. I was like playing this. She was like, "Why is Tuna on your screen?" I was like, "It's a 20-year-old movie."
Wow.
Cool.
The legend lives.
Cool. You're gonna say something, Veronica?
Oh, I was gonna say I like that how all three of well, probably more me and Leonard, but I feel like I don't know why do I feel obligated to give it a second try? Like despite everything I really think about the movie, and the only saving grace for me was his hotness, is that like, why do I still feel obliged to give it a second chance? I don't know why. It just feels like a dog on the street that's lost. I'm like, I just want to love you, but I don't want to take you home. Like, that's what I feel about this movie.
Yeah, I remember like feeling okay. I mean, that was as a teenage boy. I was like, well, that was an okay use of my time. And then as a 40-year-old man, I was like, that was not a good use of my time.
Yeah.
I had much more important things to do than rewatch The Crow. What the fuck? Why did I do that?
I nodded off for like a minute. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like I'm so biased. I don't think I've given a bad review to any of these Asian movies. It's been like since Asian Heritage Month, we've been doing this ever since May. I don't think I've given a bad review yet. I'm just so
Here's the
starved.
thing, like that movie, I don't know if it done like it did well at the box office, but I don't know if it would have done as well as it did if Brandon Lee didn't die.
Exactly.
I think that's really primarily the reason. I think that doubled the box office because they're like, well, I want to see like somebody died.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing. It's like, and not to say like that Heath Ledger's performance wasn't like fucking incredible, but he died filming the and I mean he was incredible. Brandon Lee is no Heath Ledger, okay? So
no, he is not.
Yeah, you know, I do think that the movie got a bit of a bump because he was dying, but I do remember back then, like as a Brandon Lee fan, it really was being positioned as this is his star vehicle. This is the Hollywood system is anointing him and giving him a leading role vehicle because they think he can be something. And I think it would have been number one regardless. It probably maybe might not have been like a cult classic the way it is now, but it still would have been something. And you know, and when I say superstar, I don't think he was like in line to be like the next Tom Cruise or whatever, but he was gonna be like a Dolph Lundgren style. Like you're gonna see him in a lot of movies. Like he was like because like his first, it was sort of like a passing of a torch because like the first two movies he had, I think one of his movies was with Dolph Lundgren, so it was like that Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren. Yeah, he actually was like there was actually a lot of excitement for people who like the Jean-Claude Van Damme kind of movies. Actually, maybe that's like a better example of what he's gonna be.
Yes.
He was gonna be like the next Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I was super excited for it. So it's really sad what happened to him, and I thought he had potential, and I really did like the movie. So you know, rest in peace, Brandon Lee. Rest in peace, Aaliyah. Rest in peace, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Because I don't know, they all affected me in very, very different ways, but all are still valid.